Hey, how's it going, everybody? JT here on behalf of the Ethfinance community on Reddit. And thanks to the EVMavericks once again for letting me host and help throw down some happy hour for this day, July 28th, 2023. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube. Smash the bell if you haven't already. Make sure you follow at eFinanceR on Reddit as well as at EVMavericks. There's a relevant tweet about our Daily Doots call out there if you want to smash the love on the X button, the X Factor site, and give it a retweet if you want. I mean, a re-X. Uh, this weekly Doots live stream is all about showcasing the best of the week from the Eat Finance community on Reddit. This is a read-along reaction series, and if you want to follow along, head to dailydoots.com, designed and produced by our very own Henny Abu. And while you're at it, go grab today's POAP. Big thanks to Tricky Troll for capturing and curating each day's Doots, and the A word for curating this beloved weekly list. As always, if you know somebody, and we all know somebody, who wants a piece of this action as a special guest, as a color commentator, send them my way. Okay, let's see. We'll switch views here. I'm going to go straight over to our leaderboard, starting at number 10, Benito 2030 sitting at 46. Ethical Trade still at 50. Scientist with the Y is at 53. 696 ETH climbing up at 57. Set one less also at 57. K-Brot at 60. And Crypt Owl Owl Currency, I think that person got 3 Doots this week. They are above 60 for the first time. Tricky Trolls at 64. Logri the Bard keeps smashing them down at 74. And the almighty everlasting Super Fizz at 111. Super Fizz actually showed up in the daily today. And yeah, I invited him to come on the call, but he says he has lunch plans. Can you believe that guy? I love him. I'm like, you eating another BLT? I just took a guess. I was like, go enjoy your BLT. And he said, I'm loading up on bacon as we speak. So there we go. All right, moving on to our week 28. Make sure that you pay attention to this. And if you haven't voted already, I already did. Octant Epoch Zero is now live. This is an announcement. Octant Epoch Zero is now live. You can vote for the $1 million public goods funding allocation on Snapshot. And I'm going to go ahead and open up this page. One of the Epoch Zero POAPs, 1 or 2, is required to be eligible for voting. And it looks like we have our leaderboard over there on Epoch Zero for the split of the $1 million is Gitcoin, Giveth, ETH Staker, Kernel, followed by Dow Drops, CLR Fund, Clear Fund, Protocol Guild, Ethereum Cat Herders, Super Modular, and Drips. So I voted for Super Modular because I'm working for Kevin Iwaki there. Although he also founded Gitcoin. I mean, these are all great projects. I mean, just right down the list. If I had to do poor man's math, I'm guessing there's about 500 or 600 resulting POAPs that have voted so far. So if you've got the Octant Epoch Zero POAPs, 1 or 2, let's open those up and take a look at them in the beautiful gallery. I think I've got number 1. Yeah. So I went and voted with mine, and it is quadratic funding, which is kind of fun because your single POAP, you can distribute your votes to all of the 10 or just 3 of the 10, and it'll automatically leverage your POAP for distributing those funds. So thank you so much to James, VP Abundance, aka VP Abundance, on Twitter and also on Reddit. He's become a good friend of the show. Actually, I hung out with him in Denver, and yeah, good times. So then we will move on down here to our morning Trinity.
JT,
yes, sir.
before we continue, I just have one comment on the Octant voting.
Please.
So there was a bit of a disproportional distribution of the POAPs that were given to Gitcoin users, which is the reason why they have about 50% of the votes right now. So if you haven't voted yet and you're planning on voting, I would suggest for that reason to avoid voting for Gitcoin and try and pick other projects that you like. just since the vote is so heavily weighted towards them, with a lot of bias.
Okay. That sound okay. Thank you for that. Hashtag, hashtag was saying there's no audio. Are you talking about on YouTube? Because when I look at the
voting?
YouTube, yeah, I can hear Hani Abu talking. It's delayed by about 10 seconds. Everybody in here can hear my voice, so that's the most important thing. And I'm looking at OBS and my microphone is bouncing. Also, if somebody could monitor the chat on Discord, I may not be able to see the pings. Jump in and just tell me to take a look, and I can read out any questions for people that are lurking and are not able to join on voice. Okay. All right. So thank you for that bit of information. That would make sense as to why Gitcoin is heavy there. All right, so the morning trinity, let's flip back over to here. Wolf Parking chimes in. Ethereum, you got trisomy 21. What is that? Does anybody know what is it trisomy? Trisomy 21. I don't know what this username is, but there's something there I'm missing. Chimes in on a price of $1,864.696 ETH, clocks in at a ratio of 0.063. Very good. Weekly haiku courtesy of JS Tears. ZK Washing Spy. Scan the center of your eye. WorldCoin. Earn until you cry. So the WorldCoin Oculus was making its way around. I saw Paul Brody on Twitter. Looks like he dipped his eyeball into that thing. His tweet was funny. He says, "It's like I scanned my eye and I'm unique, just like my mom said I was." He's got a funny sense of humor. It's a funny tweet. The validator Q, Space Sider reporting from Hani Abu's site validatorq.com. Your daily beacon chain dose active validators 693,231 pending validators joining 80.9 thousand. God. Leaving 0. Entry queue is up 300 from yesterday's number. It will take just under 34 days for the entry queue to clear. In just over 12 days, the amount of daily validators that can both enter or exit will be increased from 2250 to 2475. Thank you, Space Sider, and of course, Hani Abu for putting together validatorq.com. All right, our ship post of the week, because we like to start and save the first for the best for first. Congratulations, Cardano's cryptocurrency. Man, banger. Congratulations, Cardano, for releasing their first DEX today. You can now swap tokens without full reliance on a third party. And there's a no participation link here to Cardano. Creating this DEX appears to be the culmination of years of hard research, study, and academic achievement. It pays to take your time to do things right the first time without rushing. Sometimes I wish we had Texas on Ethereum. They sound like a really neat technology. Oh my gosh, what a freaking beautiful post. Great job. Oh shit, that's funny. All right. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on the ship post before we get going. Okay. We're going to move on to Harag. Discusses Gnosis Chain's recent developments and future roadmap. User Shiftly linked to a Gnosis Chain talk yesterday by Frederic Ernst. I hope I said your name right, sir. A Gnosis co-founder where she talked. Ooh, it's a ma'am. A Gnosis co-founder where she talked about L2s, rollups, and side chains. I watched it on live stream yesterday as I'm generally interested in the Gnosis ecosystem and their chain. Shiftly mentioned being surprised by the vision of Gnosis chain as they have thought it being more like an incentivized testnet. I am financially and technically invested by it by being a solo validator on Gnosis chain. Hold on one second. Make sure my monitor is down in here because the people upstairs could probably hear my voice and I don't need speakers also re-amplifying it. All right, moving on. I am financially and technically invested by being a solo validator on Gnosis chain. So take any positive sentiment I have with a grain of salt. The history of Gnosis Chain is quite an interesting one. It was born as an XDAI chain as one of the earlier EVM-compatible Alt L1 chains. The interesting thing they did was not having their own coin, but using XDAI, bridged DAI, as the base token to pay for gas. No own token. Not having its own token meant no speculative frenzy in the last bull run. They developed rather quietly. The only bigger deal they made was with POAP in 2020. That is why all our POAPs live on there now. And thanks to XDAI Chain, POAPs can often be minted for free as the gas costs are pretty negligible and are being paid by POAP. I still remember the pre-XDAI Chain POAPs, which sometimes would have cost me $50 to mint. In summer 2021, Gnosis got interested in XDAI Chain and took them over. XDAI Chain rebranded to Gnosis Chain. They started changing the consensus layer from a more permission set to a permissionless Ethereum approach. For this, they started using the GNO token as a mandatory staking token. One validator costs 1 GNO, which is about $120, much cheaper than Ethereum. There are about 130,000 validators on Gnosis Chain, about 6 times less than on Ethereum, but the economic security is obviously much lower due to only 1 GNO being staked per validator compared to 32 ETH for a single Ethereum validator. There are some large staking as a service providers, but nevertheless, there are a substantial number of solo stakers making the Gnosis Chain pretty decentralized. Unfortunately, I do not have any statistics available as the websites I used before are now defunct since a few months ago. And it goes on from there, and I'm going to go... I'm just going to read it because this is fascinating. Now to the vision. The following description is how I understand it and is from public sources I read over the last 2 years. Generally, I think it is very hard for any alternative L1 to have a value proposition as rollups most probably will eat their lunch sooner or later. At the same time, the Gnosis founders have been in the crypto space for so long, I assume they know what they are doing and how hard it is to have a value proposition. At first, their idea was for Gnosis Chain to be like an incentivized testnet, like Kasuma is to Polkadot. The idea was to first test hard forks on Gnosis Chain and then deploy to mainnet. Reality threw a wrench in that idea. The merge on Gnosis Chain was a few months after the Ethereum merge. Same with the Shapella hard fork, which will be in 2 weeks on Gnosis Chain. This brings me to the talk linked by user Shifley yesterday, which describes the new vision I have not seen described before. I definitely have seen more critical talks by Gnosis Chain people against rollups in the last few months, but did not really know why. The Gnosis team pivoted Gnosis Chain to being more of a Cosmos-like ecosystem around Ethereum. They built a trustless bridge to and from Ethereum, and also Gnosis Pay will make jumping from the various chains as simple and trustless as possible. Will it work out? I have no idea. Rollups for me have been the big disappointment of 2021 and 2022, and still are far away from the final version of being as trustless and decentralized. On the other hand, Optimism and Arbitrum have become pretty reliable for everyday use, and various ZK rollups are coming out left and right. Nevertheless, for me, Gnosis Chain is a hedge against the rollup vision not working out as fast as necessary. Gnosis Chain might be able to get some more usage in the coming years. Will Gnosis Chain end up as a rollup on Ethereum? Maybe. But even then, due to the decentralized validator base, they might have a head start for sequencer decentralization compared to other rollups, which first have to achieve that. The TLDR, Gnosis Chain, formerly known as XDAI Chain, pivoted in the last few months to a more Cosmos-like vision for the Ethereum space consisting of EVM chains connected to each other by trustless bridges. Will it work out? Who knows? And that was brought to us by Harog. That's an OG Thank you so much. That was pretty fascinating. I feel like I learned a bit on there. I don't know if anybody has anything to chime in on that before we move on.
I would love to have the Gnosis guys over for one of the shows if anybody has a connection with one of them, because I think it would be great to learn a bit more about their vision, if it is if their goal is to make more of a Cosmos-like ecosystem, and just to hear more technical details into how that differs from the roll-ups, and where they see the drawbacks and benefits.
I might be able to help you with that.
I was going to
So,
say,
Sure.
James is in here.
yeah, so one of the guys who runs Clear Fund, Aaron, I believe, is also working over there with Gnosis. So I'm happy to ping him and see if he's the right person, or if he knows who the right person would be for that. So I'll write that down right now. The other thing I was going to say, JT, it's really interesting that you're bringing up Cosmos, Gnosis, because I had a long talk with my boss, who was the person who more or less started Golem Network, and he essentially said that he's seeing Golem, or at least Golem Foundation, in a similar light, where initially there was this idea that didn't necessarily pan out, although Golem Network is still building. But on the Golem Foundation side, we're not working with that initial idea anymore. But as long as you're pivoting with the right intention in mind, you can still create something that's very beneficial for the overall ecosystem. And so I think that's kind of where we see ourselves with Golem Foundation, is with this 100,000 ETH that just went into the queue today. We're hoping that, even though this wasn't part of the initial intention, that something really useful for Ethereum comes out of it on the end.
It feels like Ethereum is a slow moving glacier, like it's it's
also
like,
funny
oh,
too that you were dropping
Cosmos,
this.
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, it's really interesting too. You were dropping those stats on the validator queue, because we today just threw in another 3,125 validators into the queue as well. So we're adding more to the pile, so to speak. So it's really great to see that there's so much interest and growth going on there.
Is there somebody on your team that did like the Salt Bay on the keyboard when you like?
Yeah, that's a good meme. I gotta bust that one out for sure.
It's like just dropping Ethereum logos, and it's like validators. That's funny, man. And then
Yeah.
like put like on Salt Bay shirt like a badge that says Octant on it.
Man, you're right. My memes for me.
I might know a guy that could help you put that together. Oh,
I'm
that's
curious
funny.
if we'll see that deposit in the charts later, because validator queue updates at midnight Eastern. So I'd be curious to see if there's a big uptick on the 100,000 ETH.
So
I mean,
somebody just pinged me on Twitter that they noticed that we just threw in. I'll find the link and put it in the chat. But I was responding to something earlier today that showed that people are already able to see that it's here. Let me post this right now.
Hey, which team did what is her name? Marie DePaula? Was she with Golem? Maria?
Maria Paula.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maria Paula. Oh,
With-
sorry, I can't post a link. Let me mess with the there.
Yeah, there
you're
you
not
go.
worthy.
Yeah, Maria Paula. So she was there, I believe, from 2018 till about 2021, and then she went to go build out an NFT project with somebody who was close with her. But she is amazing and did a lot for the project. And
Gotcha.
yeah,
All
really
right.
love her. So always wishing her the best.
Okay. Well, with that, if anybody does anything else, we'll
Yeah, hey James, while you're
Go
here, do you have any comments on the Octant Epoch Zero release, or if you want to shill Public Goods Network?
Yeah, I can say probably more on Epoch Zero than Public Goods Network. So I'm not a developer, but we just got back from ETHCC and funding the Commons, and obviously Gitcoin was there as well. So we hired a new lead developer who's already been working in the public good space for a while, and so we're really excited to have him. And I connected him with Kyle, who's leading a lot of things, including PGN over at Gitcoin. So really excited to see what comes out of that. If you're unfamiliar with PGN, it's just an L2 where the sequencer fees are going to be going to funding public goods. And so I know it's built with a lot of the Optimism stack, and really excited to see what comes out of that. What I can speak to more is Epoch Zero. So if you're unfamiliar with that initiative, we were essentially trying to build a community showcasing Octant before Octant launches next month. The idea was to hand out a large pile of ETH to 10 amazing public goods projects that most people are pretty aware of in that ecosystem. And the vote just finished last night. There were some great consequences and some unintended consequences with it, because it was such a quick idea and maybe not fully fleshed out on our side. Gitcoin ended up getting almost 50% of the allocation, which, in a way isn't bad, but we were hoping to maybe have a little more, or I would say we were hoping to have like better representation amongst a lot of the projects rather than the majority of the pile going to Gitcoin. But nevertheless, that's what happened, and we're still happy with it. We do have some really exciting things for anybody who voted in Epoch Zero that we're going to be announcing right around the time that we're launching Octant. So please stay tuned to that, because if you voted in Epoch Zero, we have something really exciting coming your way. And then the 10 projects that you could vote on in Epoch Zero are going to be 10 projects that are eligible to receive your funding if you choose to participate in the first round in Octant. But we're also talking about adding other projects as well. I've been chatting with a few of you in this channel about that. So please stay tuned to when we launch Octant. We're going to be releasing a lot of information about if you have a public goods project that needs funding, like what the criteria for that is and what the proposal needs to have in order to be considered eligible. And then, if you care about funding public goods, we have a lot of really exciting things coming up down the pipeline with Octant. The minimum amount of GLM that you need in order to participate is 100, which is like $20 USD. I'm really hoping that we can transition to some sort of quadratic funding mechanism. So if you actually care about funding public goods, the impact that you can have versus the amount that you need to the amount of money that you need in order to participate is what I think to be a really good ratio, so to speak. Small amount of money, but a large amount of impact. So. We have a lot of exciting things coming up down the corner, and please feel free to ping me anytime if anybody here or anyone listening later on has any ideas or questions that I can help out with.
For quadratic funding, are there any plans for Sybil resistance to prevent whales just from splitting up their stake weight among a bunch of addresses?
100%, yeah. So that's exactly why we didn't go with that in the beginning. This plutocracy that we have set up right now is in a way our really low-level Sybil resistance tool. But yeah, we want people who care about funding public goods to have impact, and we want to lower the barrier of entry to that impact. So obviously Sybil is at the heart of that, and so we've been working closely with the Gitcoin team, specifically Passport, to figure out how we can integrate Octant into future rounds so that we're confident about the Sybil side of things, and therefore can open up to much more exciting funding mechanisms. We had a long talks with Iwaki during Shelling Point and other spots at CC, and he's even talking about building like a custom allocation mechanism for Octant, which I'm really excited to see where that goes. So like I said, a lot of exciting things coming up around the corner, and if you have any other great questions like the one that you just asked, please, I'm happy to answer them.
On a serious note, did you get to try on Kevin Iwaki's grassy sandals?
No, I walked by him a few times because you had to take your shoes off at the Shelling Point house, and I saw on Twitter, he was very loud and open about how often he was touching grass, and with those sandals of mine. So I thought they were pretty neat. They didn't seem very comfy. It kind of seemed like artificial grass. So I don't know how nice his feet were feeling after a week's worth of walking on those things, but I think it's a good reminder and something that I'm writing up for JT, which is balancing good mental health with everything else, and getting outside and touching grass is a great way to do that.
I was just impressed he had shoes on at all.
Yeah, not inside the house. He was definitely doing the barefoot thing like a lot of other people. So it's it's good to take the shoes off and kick back and have great conversations with people.
All right. Thank you so much for giving us throwing a light on everything, and best of luck with all those Salt Bay validators going out.
Yeah, crossing my fingers, but yeah, thanks for giving me the spotlight here to share a little bit, and yeah, love the show, and I'm gonna keep listening because always good stuff in here.
All right, brother. Yeah, anytime. All right, user Bob Rossi has some delegate updates on Arbitrum and Hop. A little Arbitrum DAO update for everyone as a delegate. I'm assuming Arb links are still shadow banned. Oh yeah, I forgot about that because freaking Reddit. But want to get the picture across regardless. There has been a push over the last month or so to get some types of grants framework started with the DAO. Two of the big proposals were Plurality Labs and Questbook. Plurality Labs is looking to start a grants program over multiple phases, initially running the program, but with an end goal of phasing themselves out once a way to run grants on chain is solved. That's a funky sentence. Okay, they're going to phase themselves out once running grants on chain is solved. Okay, I voted for this proposal. There's a snapshot vote, and it has narrowly passed. The DAO has been slow to start and somewhat directionless, so I'm hoping this will help with that. While grants will be handed out with this project, the scope is more about the big picture process that develops over the long term. Let's see, sorry. The Questbook was originally tied in with Plurality Labs, but split off into its own request. It has a similar goal, a method to run grant programs, albeit with a more focused approach. They have a system they have implemented with other projects they are looking to bring into the ARB DAO. I have been, I guess, sponsoring Questbook as I have been working with them to post the snapshot tally votes. Snapshot has passed and the tally vote has just started up. I voted for on this as once again I think the grant projects are good for the space, and I like to see different ideas take a stab at growing the Arbitrum space. Having talked to the people there, it seems like a good project. Additional note, if Questbook passes, keep an eye out if you want to get involved. There will be a 2-week window where knowledgeably cryptoians can apply to be a domain allocator. Essentially, you would take over one of 4 grant domains. Gaming, okay, the 4 domains are gaming developer tooling on Nova, new protocol ideas, education, and community growth and events to help decide if projects can get grant money. It is a paid role. So something to think about if you're into that. There are details in the votes. All right, so there's a job opportunity here, friends, it looks like. Okay, so this is related to Arbitrum and Hop. Okay, so dumb question time. I think I have Hop tokens, so I could technically do this snapshot and tally voting. I don't know. Yeah, okay, it says closed. That one's closed. But anyway, I don't know if anybody has anything they want to add here. It does go on from there, but I'm going to let that one ride. All right, very good. Moving on. Speaking of Arbitrum, can't you get today's POAP on Arbitrum Network, I believe? Something like that on MetaMask if you want to get the POAP for today's call. All right, Hani Abu, what a lovely man. Hani Abu is drumming up support for getting Leinster to add Reddit-like threads and mod tools. Oh my gosh, here we go, bud. What feature do you want if user Leinster have communities? If you have an account, it'd be great to show support for Reddit-like threads and mod tools. You probably won't be able to comment on this post, but there's a few comments that say something similar that you can like to give a sentiment boost, such as this one. And I'm going to open up Leinster. And what? Yeah, so is Yogi the lead dev for this site, Hani Abu? Am I reading that right?
So he's a developer for Lens, it seems, and it looks like he's just doing some product feedback, which I'm actually surprised they don't have a specific UX researcher for that. But yeah, so Lenster is kind of like a flagship product developed by the Lens team. And it seems like they're working on a new update and are gathering some feedback on what people would like to see. And I thought this comment summed it up really well in terms of what it's missing for our community in specific to be able to migrate over to it, if the community wanted to. But it seems like they do a good job in terms of UX and everything. So if they added this, the only missing piece would really be having it open where anybody can create an account, because right now it's still kind of gated. You have to know somebody to get an invite. Yeah.
Cool. I'm just checking out, signing in on MetaMask here. It's on Polygon.
Yeah, it's really weird how so it seems like this may be a new feature or something where they gave only certain users priority to comment on whatever update this is, because I wasn't able to comment. But there were comments there, so obviously some people were able to. So yeah, I'm assuming if you are a common Lens user, that you probably would have been included in that update. I don't usually use it, which is understandable.
Yeah, I don't
priority
have
to
Lens.
people that do.
Anybody raise of hands use Lens in here? You can react with an emoji or pop it in the chat. Yeah, I don't have it either.
Yeah, so Kamisar, Lens is kind of like a Web3 Twitter-like protocol where it's all feed-based. But apparently they do have support for creating communities like we have on Reddit and having more thread-like discussions. But it's just not built into their app called Lenster. So yeah, if they added that functionality, I think it'd be great for not only users like us, but also for them to showcase additional usage that it appears a lot of people didn't know that they had, because it's not in any apps right now.
696 is on Lenster, looks like, in the chat. All right. Okay, very good. We'll move on. Excellent. Thank you, Hani Abu, for that. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. That would be pretty rad. It's something I'm kind of missing on this whole, like, trying to move to another platform deal is, just moderator tools. We just need some basic stuff like some blacklists, tagging users. I mean, I said basic, like any non-developer would be like, hey, software guy, can you make this simple? I think it's like the most simple shit is so hard. But yeah, hopefully somebody can dream it up and make some money off of it and make it worth our time to move over. I saw on, as far as Reddit moderator tool, is it Reddit enhancements? Is it Reddit enhancement suite? Or the moderator toolbox developers taking a hiatus? There's just nothing they can really do to improve it. It still exists, but it's like they can't do much. And it's kind of like, oh God, please don't let this turn into a shit show. All right, user scientist explains a potential use case to send ETH and OP, I guess Optimism, skyward. WorldCoin goes live as a member of the super chain today. I'm not fully sold on an eyeball scanning billionaire, but it's undeniable that Sam Altman is one of the hottest names in tech at the moment, and him using a very Ethereum-centric product for a digital identity solution coupled to a financial system, literally what we've been harping about for the last few years, is pretty interesting. For EG, for example, they are not just simply using the Ops super chain, they are using... It says, is that Optimism super chain? Am I correct in that if I say Optimism? Because it says OP super chain. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm giving the correct frame here. They're even spending effort on shipping 4844 along with Base. It's also screamingly obvious that online presence, such as social media, financial transactions, etc., need to be tied to some form of identity to prevent bot spam, and even worse, AI-powered bot spam. So if this triggers a gradual aha moment amongst the tech zeitgeist that are decentralized and interconnected identity plus social media plus financial systems running on Ethereum are a very elegant solution to the problems of today. It could be unbelievably bullish for ETH and OP. Or it could be one of those retrospectively ridiculous ideas which were born and died in the depths of bear markets. We shall see soon enough. And here's an edit. The Big V, Vitalik, dropped a blog post on biometric proof of personhood today. WorldCoin team is listed in the acknowledgement line, so some synchrony there. Reading through it, I'm more convinced than ever that proof of personhood, decentralized identity, will cross the Rubicon and get recognized as an important, quote, legitimate, unquote, mainstream use case of public ledgers and of Ethereum specifically. Okay, so there's that. My take is the orb kind of reminds me of like VR goggles from 1992 in the mall. Like looking back on it, it might look kind of ridiculous in hindsight, but we've been screaming about this whole like proof of person without giving up too much identity and all this other stuff. And now it seems like we got it, and now we don't like it. Some people don't like it. I'm sure somebody's got some opinions on WorldCoin and what they're doing in here. Or not.
JT, you know Catch, right?
Hey, Algo's here, huh? Yeah, I know Catch.
He just got orbed yesterday. He actually got his eye scanned and everything.
Oh, good. They didn't shove it somewhere else. Thank God.
Well, for what he's telling us, but I'm sure that's out there.
Where is Catch? He should be in here. Oh, Dujo's in here too. These two guys are from Palisades. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I highly recommend if you're interested in this idea at all to read Vitalik's article. It's a great overview of not only WorldCoin but other proof of personhood projects, kind of where they overlap, what are like the general risks of proof of personhood and what are the specific risks related to like biometric proof of personhood and where he kind of sees it going in the future. It's a great article.
I'm looking at it right now. Man, yeah, okay, so that's a banger. That's a couple thousand words anyway,
It's a really good article. I definitely back Dujo up on this one. Fucking Vitalik goes deep into it, and it's good. It's a good bedtime read, in my opinion.
Just on this,
does he go? Is he just talking about terms of it being on chain, or
no? He goes into risk and everything. He goes into privacy concerns and all that.
Does it go into privacy concerns about it on the exploits on the hardware side before anything becomes?
Yep. Yes, he does.
Yep. Yeah, actually, there's a good diagram. If you kind of scroll down, JT, there's a risks like Venn diagram.
I think I heard Logri the Bard talking.
Yeah, for a Vitalik article, this is one of the most like plain English things I've seen from him. It's actually reasonably approachable from someone who isn't even in the space. It's just trying to understand like, oh, we need to stop like spam on Reddit. How do you do that, right? This isn't just a crypto problem. This is a fundamental computer science problem, and crypto's the only one that seems to be taking a serious crack at it that involves any notion of privacy, right? But yeah, it's a great article. I third the point.
I'll be damned. Okay, and considering the source in terms of who posted this, scientist is an OG, been around for a long time. So yeah, take it. I'm glad they brought this to the table, and I'm glad Tricky duded it and A-Word found it for the weekly, because it is something we've got to consider, in the space of AI coming to like this proof of personhood thing, and how crypto can solve some of this. Hopefully we do clinch that. So
yeah. I think one of the interesting things about this is that it is like, in my opinion, a pretty good product market fit for like decentralized blockchain technology that isn't financial. Because like if someone is going to be storing information about whether you're human or not, or whether someone is a human or not, like you want that to be done in a way that is not state owned or completely centralized for obvious reasons. So I think this is a really good just like non-financial use of blockchain, and a look at what the future could look like with this technology.
I posted two air quotes here links in the VC chat for here. They actually open source their hardware completely. I posted GitHub and a article with them going through the device and how each part and everything. It's pretty flipping cool. The amount of hardware, the amount of complexity is inside of one of these things. Like, they have NVIDIA Jetson in there for all the calculations and everything like that. The camera systems and all that sort of shit. The liquid lens system is actually really well made. It's quite a piece of kit.
Yeah, it's going to be really useful when the government does a central bank digital currency, and then in order to get your license, you have to stare into their orb instead. I'm like wondering.
Just like cable or like streaming service. Streaming service are like, oh, you don't need all these different cable providers anymore. Just get one service. Now that everybody has a streaming service, like, oh, we just need one orb. Now everybody's going to have their own orb.
That's pretty slick. Very good.
You know, Apple's going to have the Cube or something else like that just to be different.
I gotta find
this. Is this really not something you could get? I mean, the shitpost leak was on like pig's eyes, but like, can we really not fake an iris, like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney or something?
The complexity of so it all depends on the scan. They actually had a good picture of. I wish I could post pictures, but in the last link I posted, and Treebeard actually posted the full link. Thank you. They have a picture of how the image looks of the iris that they captured and how complex it is. It's a lot harder to fake something like that with the depth perception they have through this liquid lens system to capture all the intricacies of the iris, not just at the surface level, but deep down. Faking that perfectly is going to be much harder than trying to do like a fingerprint, which I could lift a fingerprint with a piece of Scotch tape, right? The face detection, face unlock stuff has been multiple times before. We can pretty much all agree Apple has pretty much the best face unlock out there, but they just don't scan the face. They actually scan the topography of the person's face as well. But this is even more difficult to brute force.
Yeah, and also not to shill the orb, but the orb also has multiple features that are detecting whether or not you're a human. It's reportedly only storing a hash of the iris scan, but there's other technology in there to verify that like you're not just backdooring the system or somehow trying to thwart it by scanning a fake iris or something like that. Obviously, it's new tech. It's probably susceptible to all sorts of exploits at this point, but that is one reason why it's a hardware device. Like this.
Mean, the chip they're using inside of it alone, by itself, is roughly $1,000. This whole thing probably costs, I would say, roughly $3,000 to $4,000 each orb itself. And just to back up Dujo on this, they aren't just scanning your eye; they're getting your whole face and everything, depth sensors, IR, everything along with that. So yeah, they have your eye, but they have the rest of the face to go with it, and trying to get everything to match, through reproduction is going to be even harder if they have more information on your facial structure.
Very good.
That's wonderful. So they can track you everywhere.
The government's already doing that, so
just the hash. Just the
yeah,
hash.
supposedly. If you trust them, all their system stores is a hash of your iris, and all that it reports is whether or not your iris is contained in that database. It doesn't it can't track your iris to the specific private key or some I don't know, I probably should stop talking, but it supposedly only tells you if you are in the database. It doesn't tell you which person you are in the database.
Yeah, to back you up on this, the hardware is open source, so you can download the PCB. You can make this thing yourself. The PCB files are out there. They actually provide them. The software is not. So we need, hopefully here in the future, they have a way where we can, actually audit that software, or it becomes completely open source, where we can, be shown and able to prove it ourselves that, hey, everything's locked down tight. There's not going to be backdoors installed here by fucking OpenAI. this is the Sam Altman project, so think about it. This probably has some OpenAI stuff sprinkled into it.
Yeah, it's a lot of trust me, bro, right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure.
And
a lot of people are doing this for the airdrop potential, to be honest.
Well, were they not targeting poor people more than anything? That's kind of the take I heard, was like, if they had, if they were serious about stealing identities and, you know, making a future corruptible thing, they wouldn't be scanning poor people in Africa, which is what they've been doing, right? So there's a little bit of that. But at the same time, you know, yeah, it's a lot of trust me, bro. You know, even like the feed the children charities still are kind of corrupt, right? You know, so just because it's dealing with the impoverished people doesn't mean it's altruistic. But is Sam Altman too, you know. I love, not to pivot to AI, but the whole they're warning Congress about, you know, we got to stop this thing or whatever, except for us. We're going to keep going. You know, it's like, who knows what they've got under the hood at that OpenAI. All right, we're going to move on. Benito 2030 shares their latest favorite podcast episodes. Excuse me. Some weeks ago, someone here asked for podcast recommendations and interesting episodes. Since I enjoy podcasts, I thought it might be a service to the community to highlight those I really like or maybe disliked. Let's see what the future brings. The first edition was okay, I think, so here's the second top 3. Bell Curve. Is liquid staking a winner-takes-all market featuring Hasu? The episode is interesting. It's part of the LST season of Bell Curve and is the first episode after the kickoff. As most of you are probably aware, Hasu is an advisor to Lido and was not really in favor of self-limiting when the discussion popped up last year or the beginning of this year. I can't remember. What's interesting here is that Hasu explains his arguments and assumptions about staking / LST market. And it goes on, I followed the discussion back in the days, but didn't really understand where he was coming from and understand him better now. I think we have to distinguish between his comments with regards to the market, such as staking, liquid staking is winner takes all, and distinguish that between specific LST providers and protocols. He makes a very interesting comment, apparently for the first time, where he basically says, quote, "It's crucial ETH stays decentralized and the criticism towards Lido is correct." Okay. that might be worth a listen. Okay, this is Benito 2030. That's the first one. The second one is Uncommon Podcast is Uncommon Core 2.0, the reboot, featuring John Charbonneau. I don't know if I said his name correct. Don't worry, this one is not so much about Hasu. It's the first episode of Uncommon Core after 1.5 years. First time featuring John Charbonneau instead of Zusu, who apparently could make it. John is front and center in this episode. He's introduced, interviewed. His CV is interesting, though. His statement that he's in crypto since just 1 year is kind of funny, since he's been interested before, but now he's full-time. But he's full-time. Okay, blah, blah, blah. John is an interesting guy since he's not really part of any crypto tribe, but seems to be rather ETH focused. Since he is rather new and neutral, his point of view is interesting, and it goes on from there. And then finally, the third in the trifecta he recommends is Epicenter podcast, featuring Vitalik. Gee, do we even have to read this? It says it's a good interview, nothing too crazy, though there was comment that I didn't understand, but I can't recall what the topic was. Are you serious? Vitalik was talking and there was one comment you didn't understand? Shit, I'd look at that blog post earlier. I was happy I could recognize a few of the words on that one, so I want to read that one for sure. Talking about, since you could basically borrow against your validator, set up more validators, repeat and or basically attack the network for free, you'll be slashed, but you'll have 80% of the ETH value back in USD or so. Vitalik mentioned this in a slightly different context, but this was a crazy moment, and I have to say I should have thought about this back when I made the comment 2 months ago. To wrap up, so this is it. These were, in my opinion, the best podcast episodes of the past weeks. The XRP case decision was also a very important topic and picked up in a lot of podcasts, but I don't think it was as good as these three. Has anybody else listened to any one of these three podcasts? And it's really neat that we have somebody that is trying to curate podcasts to listen to. That's why I freaking love the Mavericks. Because I feel like, man, if you got one thing you could do and you do it well, and it's like executing through the noise and getting the alpha to the people. I feel like the Doots, these live streams help with that, but somebody just like listening to some of these podcasts and coming up with things to for other people to enjoy and kind of filter out a few of the louder ones and get to some of these quieter ones,
This actually gave me an idea. Are there any tools or platforms that allow you to create curated playlist of podcast episodes like this, so like people can subscribe to somebody that's basically finding good episodes for them?
That's a good idea.
That's not
that is a good idea.
platform like Spotify.
Hanny Abu, how many websites have you built?
Too many.
No, you got room for one more?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now. Stateofeth.com.
Of course you are. Jeez, man. That's sweet. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, that's a great idea. Curated list of badass, like if we could vote on different ones. You got provably listen to and then provably vote up ones you like. I don't know. It seems like maybe building something doesn't need to be done going that far. Anyway, all right. User Wolf Parking updates us on CBDCs. Here's a nice compilation of info on this site. Let's open it up, take a look here. Central bank digital currency by the Tracker. Ooh, this is a pretty website. It's the Endless Server Room. All right. So there's a bunch of links there to look at. Looking into the world of CBDCs. Interesting to see world economic dominance and powers changing gears around trade and the implications it might have for the US dollar. That ain't no shit. The article states that it is important to note that some countries build CBDCs in order to attempt to limit the United States' ability to track cross-border flows and enforce sanctions. In the long term, the absence of U.S. regulations and standards setting can have large geopolitical consequences, especially if China and other countries maintain their first mover advantage in the development of CBDCs. Russia just cemented their plans to create a digital national currency called the digital ruble. They were one of the last of the BRICS economics markets group to legislate and finalize a CBDC project. Help me out. BRICS is Russia, Brazil, India, China, and what's the S? South Dakota? Anyway, so sounds good to me. South Africa, thank you. South Africa now being the last to implement plans and is still trialing different models before committing to a project. Under the above-mentioned bill, Russians will be able to make payments and transfers from their digital wallets, which would be within the central bank's platform or that of one of its partner banks. On the other hand, the CBDC can only be used for payments or transfers, not loans or deposits, according to the central bank. Testing will begin next month. Brazil still hasn't released their CBDC, although it should come out sometime later next year in 2024. India's pilot program is ramping up. The India Central Bank aims to reach a target of 1 million CBDC transactions per day by the end of this year, from 5,000 to 10,000 currently. China's digital yuan coin hits $249 billion in transactions so far this year. There's a link to that. Okay. Currently, 130 countries representing 98% of global GDP are exploring a CBDC. In May 2020, only 35 countries were considering a CBDC. A new high of 64 countries are in an advanced phase of exploration. So interesting. All right. Man, that's a lot of countries. 98% are experimenting. Yeah, BRICS. How new is BRICS? Does anybody know in here? I know it's pretty new. But yeah, that's interesting. And that was by Wolf Parking. Thank you for sharing that.
BRICS started in 2009.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it is relatively recent, but it's like that's an interesting collection of countries, you know. Okay. Accidental Green user Accidental Green created an open source tool for client migration. I created an open source tool that allows anyone running Geth to instantly swap to a minority client with zero configuration or effort, just one click, new client. God damn. Switching to or from any execution client, Geth, Besu, and Nethermind to any other, as well as remove and reinstall a broken client. Instructions on the GitHub. I did that for you, Algo. And more info in the ETHStaker post. Feel free to check out my other open source Ethereum projects. He's made Instant Validator and Validator Updater, both available on the GitHub. Instantly update your execution and consensus client to the latest version. I plan to do more projects like this, so let me know if you have any ideas to help improve the staking experience. What a freaking legend. Holy shoot. Good for you, man. Good for all of us. Anybody wants to use that, there it is. Right there at dailydoots.com. User Haslef covers the ZK sync swap exploit. Okay. From sync swap Twitter, quote, we would like to inform you of a security incident with ERA-Lindu and ERA-Lend, a lending platform on ZK Sync ERA. The ERA-Lend team has detected and confirmed a cyber attack on their platform. Looks like July 25th. The attack has already been contained, and the threat actor is no longer able to continue their actions as per the official announcement from ERA-Lend. The ERA-Lend team is currently collaborating with cross-chain bridge partners and ZK Sync to prevent any further potential asset outflows. Only USDC deposits on ERA-Lend were affected by this incident. All other assets remain secure and unaffected. And it goes on from there. TLDR, ERA-Lend has been attacked and caused certain losses for ERA-Lend USDC depositors. Please follow up updates from the ERA-Lend's official Discord server and Twitter to keep up to date and beware of scams. We hope everyone can stay safe. All right. Haslev, thank you for that. Haslev's been around for a long time. Oh, man, my favorite robot artist in the world, Logic Beat, shares his 365th daily robot artwork NFT, and I think Nixo bought it. Oh, never mind. It's still... She bought it. Oh, I know what happened. She somehow ended up with it and then gave it back to Logic Beach because I think he accidentally didn't set it up as an auction. And because Nixo's one of the good ladies out there, it is now sitting at 0.05 WETH. And man, I need to get logged into my MetaMask and put a bid on that because it's the 365. He said he's going to take a break. His goal is 1,000. He's been working for a year nonstop. He wants to take a short pause to get refreshed and rejuvenated. I own a lot of Logic bots. I've spent a lot of money on them. In terms of it's all things being relative. But I've seen the process. He uses AI for the background, but he hand draws the robots, and he did one every day for a year, and his last one is sitting at 93 bones, but not for long. I really want his last one before he takes a break. It's a nice milestone, so good job, kid. And let's see, we'll move on. Yeah, he wrote, I should probably just read what he wrote and shut the hell up. When I first started drawing Logic bots, I was working in a regular 9-to-5 job and wanted to break into the Web3 ecosystem. So I took the plunge, quit my job, and started focusing on Ethereum full time. Since that first bot drop, I have found a solid footing in Web3 and don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I have learned a ton and I still have lots to learn and build. Thank you to the awesome Web3 community who have supported me and everyone else who put up with me. Yes, sir. He's young and he's got an interesting past. We actually kind of have our paths are very parallel because I was working construction at one point when I was younger and he was too. So good for you. One of my favorite usernames of all time, Rooftop Porta Potty, explains Google's latest plans to try and monopolize the internet. Hanny, I appreciate your asking. Is he talking to you, Hanny Abu? Must be. To start off, I have not.
Unless there's another one.
Let's see. Let me go back to. Let's look at the thread here. Show the parent comment. Yeah, he was replying to you. Looks like you were asking him, what's your take on Google pushing this WEI update onto Chrome?
This post.
Okay.
And this is concerning, but go ahead.
Okay. Hanny, I appreciate your asking. To start off, I have not heard of this before you shared it. This is going to be a long rambling of my thoughts and opinions. The idea seems to be an absolutely desecration of privacy on the internet. How would this even work when using an anonymizing service such as Tor? Google does have a long history of introducing new things that are not actual HTTP specs, purely as a way of forcing users to switch to Chrome as their web browser. Of course, there are already solutions such as CAPTCHAs, JavaScript checks, and services such as Cloudflare, which attempts to detect and prevent bots from interacting with web servers. That said, Web Environment Integrity, WEI, seems to completely obliterate the usual flow of the World Wide Web. Okay. So to clarify, WEI is a Google product, right? Okay. Having such a centralized service, however the attesting API is implemented, is a devastating breach of trust of the client, though servers should never trust clients. Who even controls this API? Google? It seems that this idea could be utilized by servers regardless of infrastructure, which in some cases, such as enterprise intranets, may provide enhanced server-side security. I absolutely agree with Vivaldi that this is nothing more than DRM forced by web servers onto clients. So DRM is digital rights management, I believe, like in the music and video world. So much more troubling is in their note of the following quote. It is also interesting to note that the first use case listed is about ensuring that interactions with ads are genuine, which leads me to believe that this has been created solely for Google's ad business. After all, they are nothing more than a giant advertiser. With Chromium's market dominance, widespread implementation of this monstrosity would most certainly lead to the demise of competing browsers. The GitHub link states, don't enable new cross-site user tracking capabilities through attestation as a goal. This is completely contradictory to the goal of web environment integrity, which is to gain as much information about a client as possible and share it with the servers. Another goal is to allow web servers to evaluate the authenticity of the device and honest representation. Honest. LMAO. Yeah, right. Google is honest. Continue to allow web browsers to browse the web without attestation. They just admitted that there is no point to this service. If it is avoidable, then what's it for? Enforce or interfere with browser functionality, including plugins and extensions. They know damn well that it will interfere with any functionality that doesn't play by their rules. Every one of their example use cases are laughable. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. I only see 4 goals of this project. Make Google ads inescapable. Gain as much information of users of competing browsers as possible. Blacklist those users and force them to use Chrome. And number 4, ensure that Google is the final arbiter of the internet worthiness. I wish I could say it was surprising. Holy crap. Great job, Rooftop Porta Potty. I don't know where he's been. I'm curious if he got a job. He was looking for a job a while back. He's a very, very intelligent person. I mean, you would have to have a porta potty on your rooftop for real. So Thank you so much. Hats off to you. Anybody have anything else they want to add in on that or any other topics for today before we wrap? All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Stick around after the live stream because we continue the party in the hotel lobby. Don't forget to get that POAP for today's call. Come on into the lobby for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a fun place to let loose when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. On behalf of Ethfinance and the EVMavericks style, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from